Damn, it's been over a month since I finished the Psychonauts Mind Rankings, and I haven't made anything since. This is due to a variety of factors. Trouble coming up with ideas, trouble finding the motivation, and just being really busy in my personal life. I have a few other video ideas, but they'll take a bit longer to get done, so I might as well give you guys something quick and easy to tide you over and help ease me back into things. How about another games I've played video? Last one covered 5 months plus a little extra, and this video will do the same. To start, just a quick update on the games I was playing at the end of May. I stopped Ripto's Rage because I wasn't really that into it. As for No More Heroes 2, I got stuck on my favorite boss, Million Gunman. After being stopped for a while, I beat him and then got stuck on Ryuji, and due to all the other games coming out at the time, I kinda lost my motivation to continue. Maybe I'll finish it because I still haven't gotten to most of the best bosses in the game. Now starting on June, we have the game I was playing while making the last games I played video, A Hat in Time. Remember when I said my anxieties about replaying games were fixed? Yeah, that wasn't really true. I was going through a lot of stress at the time, and worrying that I wasn't enjoying A Hat in Time as much as I should fed into that stress. Even though said stress was pretty illogical, because the only times I wasn't really enjoying myself were the parts of the game I already remembered not liking. I think the problem is that thanks to the DLC, mods, and time away from the game, my mind overinflated how much I actually enjoyed it. When I replayed it, that facade washed away, and I was left with an experience that more closely matches how I felt when I originally played it, which is still pretty damn good, just not as good as the imaginary game I built up in my head. Then I played It Takes Two with a friend, which once again fell into the category of not as good as I was expecting, but still pretty good. I'm not usually one for co-op, but the game made good use of it, with levels clearly designed around having 2 people and a wide variety of mechanics. The Dark Side Detective was pretty fun. It's a point-and-click game, but the kind that's so basic I can put up with it, and I really liked the absurd style of humor. On to another replay, we have Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. This game had a similar problem with A Hat in Time, but even more so. I had this rosy picture of it being peak Shantae, and the moments I was remembering were still pretty good, but there were also a lot of annoyingly cryptic puzzles and plenty of dull and frustrating moments. Looking back, my favorite part of these games was sweeping them for collectibles, and since Half Genie Hero was the best at that, I guess that one's my favorite now. On the back of a lot of replays that didn't go well, I started July off with a replay that did go well, Night in the Woods. Remember when I said you should play this game when you get out of college? Well, that isn't really the full picture. Night in the Woods is one of those games where you either get it or you don't, and getting it largely depends on being at that point when you're just making it into the adult world and have no clue what you want to do with the rest of your life. Really, it was the exact right time for me to replay it, and while I'm not gonna act like my experience was perfect, it resonated with me a lot more this time, and I'm really glad I gave it a second chance. Next was Felix the Reaper. Wasn't a fan. Honestly, I should have known better when buying this game. It's a grid-based puzzler, and I got stuck and quit pretty early. Since all the Bit Trip games recently got re-released, I figured I would give Runner a try. I had fun at first, but man is this game hard. I had fun, but didn't have much of a motivation to keep going. Another game I went back to was Life is Strange. It was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, it's not a good game, but aside from a few moments of genuine frustration, it's a lot of fun to play through and make fun of with a group of friends. Speaking of games with friends, I tried out 100% Orange Juice, and I've been having a blast with it ever since. I've been playing it on and off again, both with and without friends, and it's been a great time. Then I played Little Nightmares 2. I know I'm in the minority here, but I actually prefer the original. Not only do I like the mall more as a setting, but I genuinely hate the combat here. I guess it adds to the sense of fear, but I just found it frustrating more than anything. In case you're wondering, I stopped in the middle of the hospital because I was having trouble stunning the mannequins. Rain on Your Parade. Pretty good, not amazing. I'll play a bit of it when I'm doing something else, but it's not the kind of game I'd want to dedicate my full attention to. Wuppo. I gave this one more time than I normally would because I heard it was more of a slow burn. I made it to Popo City, looked around a bit, and just wasn't feeling it. The reviews say that the main draw of the game is the world, world, but I didn't find it that charming or interesting. Finally, capping off July was the replay I did of Psychonauts in order to prep for the sequel. Unlike a lot of the other games I replayed, I wasn't really disappointed when I revisited Psychonauts because I played it so many times I knew what to expect. And if I'm being honest with myself, I've always had a love-hate relationship with this game. I figured I'd go for 100% because why not? And as a result, it gave me a new perspective on the game, which is nice because I've pretty much run out of new story stuff to discover, which were often the highlights of previous replays. The one part that left me in a bad mood was the meat circus, but not for the reasons you'd think. I didn't hate it. For once, I felt indifferent to it, and feeling that way seemed so wrong, I got back to thinking something was wrong with me. Moving on to August, me and some friends played through Ghost Trick. Obviously, I wasn't as enraptured with it as I was when I was a kid, but I still enjoyed myself. I relived just how well constructed the game's story is and how good the humor is. Plus, it was great seeing my friends' reactions to all the twists. I decided to go back and give stacking another try. That didn't last long. I mean, it's stacking. I kinda should have seen that coming. Next was Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. It was fine, it looked nice, and the combat was fun, but it felt like that was all the game had to offer me. The platforming was borderline non-existent, and while the story had its moments, I largely felt out of the loop. I feel like a lot of the emotional moments hinged on being familiar with these characters, and I've only played the PS4 games, so there wasn't really that much history for me to connect to. I quit High Hell almost immediately. It wasn't very good. Finally, after so much waiting, I got to play Psychonauts 2. It was kind of a weird experience finally getting to play it. After all that anticipation, playing it wasn't some hype-inducing, mind-blowing experience. It was just really fun, and you know what? That's okay. Starting off September was my other most anticipated game of the year, No More Heroes 3. It was really good. The combat is much better than the originals, aside from that stupid jump. They managed to make a really satisfying gameplay loop, and the hub world actually feels worthwhile for once. Oddly enough, the bosses are the weakest part here, and they're still pretty good. Next was Anodyne. I got lost and didn't find the game that interesting to begin with, so I dropped it. Next was The Great Ace Attorney, the first one. I played the second one a bit later. On one hand, I wasn't a fan of the pacing in these games. There were a lot of moments that felt too slow, drawn out, or boring, but the game looked great, the new mechanics were fun, the overarching story was strong, and when the game was good, it was really good. The next game my friend group started playing was Lisa the Painful. At first they had me play it, but I wasn't really into it, so we switched to one of the other people in the group. So I'll actually experience Lisa in its entirety, I just won't be the one playing it. I played through the entirety of WarioWare Get It Together in one day when I was traveling, and it was a lot of fun. I haven't really gone back to it since, but I probably will at some point, given all the extra modes it has to offer. In October, I finally got around to playing Deltarune. I started off by replaying Chapter 1, so I remember what happened, and I'm glad I did, because I appreciated the game a lot more on my second playthrough. When I originally played it back in 2018, I was underwhelmed because I was constantly comparing it to Undertale, which was an unfair comparison since this is only part 1 of a much larger game. Then I played Chapter 2 and oh my god, it was so much better. The world, the mechanics, the characters, all of it makes me so excited for when the full game comes out. Then I played Great Ace Attorney 2 and my thoughts are similar to the first one. The only thing I have to add is that the final case is probably my favorite in the series. Next was Inscription. This one was a big disappointment. Not because the game is bad, at least not at first. I actually really liked the gameplay here. The card battling system, the roguelike elements, the fact you can get up from the table to solve puzzles, it's all a lot of fun. The problem is, since this is a Dan Mullins game, there always has to be something more. Without spoiling anything, what I just described is only the first third of the game. The second one changes up the mechanics and atmosphere to the point where I just didn't enjoy the game anymore, so I quit and looked up what happens on YouTube. It's a shame, I really liked the first third, and from what I've seen of the final third, I probably would have enjoyed that one too, but the second was enough to kill the game for me. For years I've been telling myself I would replay Costume Quest, so with Halloween coming up, I figured, why not now? It was okay. I honestly don't know what I was expecting. Costume Quest is probably the most basic RPG I've played, and most of the appeal comes from the Halloween aesthetic and seeing what the costumes look like in battle. I stopped the replay once I got to the maze because I remembered everything after that kinda sucking, things, so I figured why bother finishing. Finally, the one new game I've played in November as of writing this is Demon Turf. This was another of my most anticipated games this year, and it didn't live up to the hype. The platforming is good, at least for a while. This is made by the same people as Slime Son, so I should have known things would get obnoxiously difficult later on. Aside from the platforming, the music is good, some of the optional content is nice, I like the hub world, and that's about all the game has going for it. It's ugly, the story is boring, and the combat is awful. And those are the games I played in these past 5 months. Sorry if things got a bit depressing in the beginning, but I figured I should be honest about my experiences playing these games. There was some disappointment, but a lot of good stuff too. I am Defoffilizer, and now that you know the majority of the games I've played this year, with the exception of what I'll wind up playing in December and late November, time to place your bets on what's gonna be in the Games of the Year list, huh? I'm sure it'll be interesting. Before I go, I'd like to thank the SMR and Danger Sushi for supporting me on Patreon. If you want to see my videos a day early or have your name read out, feel free to support me there. Now for a word from our sponsor. Are you tired of your old, bulky wallet? Then try Ridge. The Ridge wallet comes in over 30 colors like carbon fiber and burnt titanium, keeps your credit card safe by blocking RFIDs, and best of all, it hardly takes up any space. If you're interested, go to ridge.com/defoffilizer or enter in code defoffilizer to receive 10% off your order. Also, if you order between November 17th and December 7th, that discount will be increased to 15%. So order now to make use of that nice discount. Bye!